Welcome back to the Koori Knockout Podcast. We've got a special guest with us today. If you're loving what you're hearing so far, make sure you subscribe and keep listening to all these knockout yarns. Plenty of good old stories here. We're joined by Anthony, the man Mundine, today. One of our greatest boxers of all times, one of our most exciting, entertaining footballers of all time, and a man full of plenty of good old knockout stories as well. Thanks for joining us today, Chop.
Pleasure, my brother. Pleasure.
How you been?
I've been good, man. Just cruising, trying to stay out of trouble. I stay fit, try to train a little bit, and that's it, bro.
I know one thing I didn't mention in that introduction is also gun table tennis player. You're just fresh off the table. He just had 4 games here before we come on. So we only just got the podcast in because he's been dusting them up on the table tennis table too.
2-2 you and Trenny Rose, brother.
Trenny,
1 round to go, to decide the winner.
But he changed the rackets on me. He's trying to pull the tricks out to get me down, but we'll see. Well, I want to pump him last set, bro.
Who's the best table tennis player you've seen?
Dan
Munro reckons he's got your number.
Dan's probably the best. Dan Munro, he's he can play, but he's a very defensive player. You know what I mean? He's very defensive. He hits everything back, and he just wears you down. But they're styles, I suppose.
Actually, he told me to refer to him as Shogun.
I'll throw another name in, bro. Glenn Lydiard out there at the Panthers.
I heard Glenn was talking about
at the All-Stars, he's undefeated. None of the boys can beat him at All-Stars. Matty Bowen come down with a bit of a reputation from Queensland there, talking it up, and he's been winning.
Mengo's good. I've seen Mengo.
Very good. Mango undefeated in North Queensland and Queensland camps, and Glenn Lydiard towed him to bits. So, and he's in that Penrith, no one can beat him. So, it's another one there, bro. Black fellas love their table tennis.
I love it. We've had a few come through here. Few good players have come through here and left with their tails between their legs. Nev Simpson is our best that we've seen come through here. So big Biffalo all the way from Merimbula. The Merimbula. Oh, I nearly said his name then. No, Nev Simpson's the best that we've seen come through here. So we're going to have to get Glenn Lydiard in here against Nev. We might even get a tournament going. Chock's in the top echelon there. Shogun, we'll get Shogun in, so we'll get a few come through. We might even have to go live for that one. Maybe we'll put it in on knockout weekend.
That's it, bro.
Table tennis knockout weekend.
No limit pay-per-view, bro. No limit pay-per-view. The boys going all out.
No, it's a pleasure to have you in here, Chock. Obviously, we've all followed your career over the years. A few of your games have been getting brought up on here over the last few yarns that we've had. So you've been a part of some memorable knockout games over the years as well. One that I want to ask you about, and Dean, you might remember it. Was it Moree? Was it Moree that amazing team got put together? And what were they called again?
The Wanderers or
the Wanderers?
Our team.
Yeah.
Well, I was lucky enough to win it when I was 17.
Really?
Yeah, I was with the All Blacks. You had a mix of brothers, older brothers, seasoned veterans, Shane Phillips, Rob Welsh, all the old brothers. Then you had all young fellas, Wesy P, myself. Wes was 18, I was 17. Then I got, Gordon Tallis was playing with me at Dragons at the time. He was in flag, and I was playing ball. And I said, bro, come and play the knockout. He said, yeah. So he come with us and played with it as a knockout.
He had a full head of hair then too, the big blonde locks.
With locks, and we end up winning it. So I know a lot of brothers out there, play their whole life, go through knockout after knockout after knockout with letdown after letdown, and some don't even win one. So I was very fortunate to win one when I was 17, and I was like, that's a ticket off my bucket list.
I remember watching that team at Redfern Oval, and Gordon Tallis was there. You, Wes, like you said, it was a well-balanced team. Had some hard heads, Redfern boys that had been around a long time, Shane and those guys, and then these exciting, talented young players in yourself and Wes. And I remember, bro, as you were coming through the ranks, and everyone would talk about your athleticism because your father, obviously, you had the basketball career, boxing as an option, rugby league, you had it all sort of at your feet, and everyone was excited to see you coming on. I just remember watching you, and I was just so far out, man. This fella, he just floats around a football field. He's a freaky sort of player.
I was great running sort of outside back. but I could create too. That's probably why Brian Smith, when I, got a bit older, 17, 18, he put me into the 5'8" position, and I never played 5'8" through my whole juniors. I was all centre all the time. You know what I mean? I was more of a running back, but then, obviously I had a bit of creativity, and he implemented that into my game and put me through the 5'8" as I got, in the seniors.
What was it with your upbringing? Your father would have been a big part. Your mum also.
Mum and dad, man.
The talented family there.
Your mum and dad, I just, it's like monkey see, monkey do. You know what I mean? Like, I saw my dad. No, I didn't go to his fights and stuff, but his reputation sort of, I knew about it. And, when I'm out in the public and people are interacting with him, that you're always getting, kind gestures and, people saying, "Oh, Tony, you're the man, bro." And I was thinking, I want to be the man, bro. As a kid, you know what I mean? So that, Dad always told me, don't drink, don't smoke, don't do drugs, stay away from the poisons of society. A lot of our people, because of depression and life in general, can take people to dark places. So, and then we used to go down, used to take me down King's Cross, every Kalusia bar back in the day when I was about 10, 11. Then we used to walk the back streets of Redfern, and used to interact with the alcoholics and drug addicts and homeless people. And they actually used to tell me their stories and how they got to sort of rock bottom. And that really, sat with me throughout my whole life. Just how fortunate I was, how lucky I was, and being grateful to everything that I had, at the time. That was a big deal, and I really learned off them. They would tell me that don't get on this path. It's a dead end street. It's either addiction or death, pretty much. And so interacting with the users and the drug addicts, and that really set a roadway for me to make that choice to never ever touch it, never do it, and be against it and be an advocate for that.
Yeah, I reckon it's unreal too. That's one thing that I always remembered growing up watching you and knowing that that's the lifestyle that you'd chosen, and it showed like how great you were as an athlete. Dino said just how good you were at so many different sports.
Yeah.
How was it that you ended up making your choice on which sport you wanted to chase?
I was at a sporting crossroad. I was a gun basketball player when I was younger, but I done it more for fun. Like all the brothers, like Lindsay Munro, who else? All the Rayboy Welsh, Dado Welsh. We had a group of team, all blacks. We played down a Monday night competition, but I started getting like real good. I mean, I was never like dedicated to the sport like a professional or whatever, or like I dreamt of it, like I did league at the time. But I just had that natural talent, that speed, that explosiveness, and I could shoot. Not so much a 3-pointer, but the mid range I was pretty good. And I got offered a development contract with the Sydney Kings at the time when I was 16, but I couldn't do it because I was committed to rugby league.
It's a better the pathway to rugby league's always been stronger too, eh? Like you always known that there's strong competitions leading into it. Like I think in a lot of the other sports, even in rugby union, there's not a strong pathway into union, is there?
It's a big challenge for all the sports. You look at cricket and tennis. I look at tennis and think, how do they not work out that Yvonne Goolagong was one winner Australian Open and Ash Barty's your next? They're both Indigenous. What happened to the 40, 50 years in between?
Yeah.
Because you haven't invested in our communities and haven't developed pathways. And there's got to be alternate pathways for Indigenous people because we face so many different challenges than what the pathways are created for, the people who the pathways are created for. Even in rugby league, we've got to have alternate pathways. But your journey, Choc, I remember because Smitty coached me and Rod Reddy, and they tell me the talks about Chock all the time.
Yeah.
And I remember even as a young kid, and we did all our connecting and meeting up, us as young fellows at Red Room and Gas and all these different places. And I remember you just loved it because, you know, I'd be around sort of Blacklock and, you know, Lee Hookie and Marky Mundine and these fellows, Bow Boy, the boys that sort of took me around Sydney and showed me around Sydney, and Robbie John and Wes. And then whenever Chock would come along, like, you just loved it. That because I feel, bro, like for our generation of footballers that come to Sydney, you were the one that gave us the confidence to sort of believe. We were all intimidated coming down from the bush and not knowing whether we were going to be good enough to make it, and we couldn't really match up with a lot of the white fellas and the other boys about what they were doing training-wise. But I'd go down to Dragons, bro, and you'd have Blacklock and all that feeling like they were first graders and like they were gun players, and Mossy was down there, Amos was down there coming through, Robbie John and that, and you were sort of running the club. And I was like, no, that don't happen to me at the Roosters. I was like, we got to stand in the corner quiet. And you sort of gave us all that belief, and I know that all that generation, and George, and that was part of it too. We sort of meet in these places. We see you never, like you said, never drink, never took drugs, never thing, always humble and kind to everyone. And you sort of give that inspiration to the players. But did you feel that responsibility? Because he wasn't even that much older than us.
No, I didn't really feel that responsibility. I just felt that I was like God-given talent, that I had that mentality, you know what I mean? And I knew, you know, when at a certain time in the footy, that I knew that I was the man. I was the franchise player, you know what I mean? Like, I'll tell you a story, it's a pretty freaky story. You know, Abs, right, Coda NASA. We was playing the finals, 96 finals. And like, I was a kid, I'm 21-year-old, but I was a weapon. Like, I was 88 kilos, just fast, explosive, you know, dynamic with my footwork. And I was scoring tries like that, you know, 5'8" don't do, mate. You know what I mean? Like, and
doing backflips at the end of them.
Yeah, well, not that early. In '99 I started that, but in '96 I was a kid. And we had a not a mediocre, but just above mediocre team going into the finals. We made the semis. I mean, probably we got into about 7th or 8th position. And then obviously it was a knockout round every round to play the finals. We played Canberra first. That's when I done the mousetrap, you know, and then we ended up winning by 2 points. Then we played the Roosters, the Fiddlers, and his team of stars. We beat them. Then we played North Sydney, who was the favourites that year because they had like Greg Florimo, you know, what's his name, the back rower?
Gary Larson, Jason Taylor. Yeah, that was a pretty stacked side.
They had a stacked team. And then, ended up beating them. And I was scoring crazy tries every game. You know what I mean? Like something that you just out of a movie. You know what I mean? Like you dream about. And then the final we lost to Manly. I believe this is my take on it anyway because it was muddy. It started to get rain a bit and it was muddy track. Yeah, we were better on a dry track with the Dragons than them. But to make it to the final, I brought all the boys and the boys' confidence. It was infectious. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because I believed in myself so much that I used to share that love around to the other players. You know what I mean? And Gordo set out that year. If we would have had Gordo, we would have been a wrap. We would have won that season. You know what I mean?
But where did you get that confidence from? Because I remember being a young blackfella, there was no one that had that brashness, you know, or the cockiness that they would call it. But it wasn't cockiness or arrogance because we got to know you, and it was just, like you said, it was just confidence and belief.
But you know where it all stemmed from? The competition with your best, Lindsay, Munro, Ray Boy, Data, all the brothers growing up, and just wanting to be the best. That's where it all come from. Like competitiveness at any level. You know what I mean? It could be marbles, could be cards. I talk shit in any environment, and that's where it will come from, and so where it will stem from. And I just took that to the professional ranks. I didn't change myself. And the way I competed and talk shit and smack, the same way I done it to my family and friends, I do it to the professional ranks. And I just passed it over. I didn't sell out. I was me, 100% me, 100% real, organic, you know, from the start to the finish.
One thing I always said about Chock is like even when there was even sometimes you'd hear, a black fella talk down about him, and I say, well, why would you do that? If you were, as a black fella, if something ever went wrong with you, or you were mistreated, or you were treated as a scapegoat for something else, the first person who would put his hand up for you, whether he knew you or not, would be this fella, and he would put himself out in front and take as many bullets as possible, because he'll stand up for you as a black fella every day of the week. And that's one thing that I've always felt about him, is that no matter who you were, he would stand up for you and for your rights as a black fella.
I stood up for the Aboriginal people's plight, since, I remember the 1988 anniversary. We done our big march down the city and down.
We come down for that. We come down for that.
On point or whatever. And we were kids. Like I was 11, 12 years old. Me, Linz, Wesy P, and it was all in. It was crazy. Black fellas come from everywhere. You know what I mean? And so I knew, when I was. So I don't know. I just had this ability to know, like I was gonna be somebody, because I just had that feeling, especially when I started to come into my early teens, and I was going to be somebody special. And one night, like the boys, like hanging out, like peer pressure. I'll give you an example, peer pressure, right? Hanging out with the brothers. I can't remember who I was, but there was a group of us, and we went down to Waterloo, and we was at this house, terrace, and went in, and the boys, that was smoking yarny, and I was thinking, what's going on there, you know what I mean? And that was puff given, and that's bro, you want to pull on it? I said, nah, bro, that's not for me, man. That's right. I was only about 15, 16. And I said, no, I'll see you later, brothers. So I walked up the back street of Waterloo, and I started bursting in tears, you know what I mean, to myself. I was like, I was so proud of myself that I said that, but I knew from that moment that, where I was headed, and I was going to make all my dreams come true, and that's a big thing, especially for a black fella, like and having that belief and resilience to just to say no, you know what I mean?
Because it is hard to say no at that age too,
Yeah,
right?
bro,
When you're a young fella and everybody else is doing it, and that's sort of the way to be a part of the crowd.
Well, we've all grown up in communities where that's the answer that everyone gives you.
That's the answer.
Everyone preaches to you that this is what you got to do. You got to drink. The drugs are there, and we all have fun with it, and that's the way we connect. And you become a real brother doing that. You become a real, family when we're doing that stuff. And I'll say, so glad, brother, that you talk about that, because I feel that it's the biggest issue that our communities face.
It's the poisons, not just of our people, but society in general. You know what I mean? The drugs, the alcohol, the look at the ice epidemic, bro. Like the what is it, methamphetamine or whatever it is. I mean, it's crazy. Like a lot of my family want it, like up in Willow and things like that, and they're addicted to it. You know what I mean? And it causes problems. And they don't function right. They're unbalanced. You know what I mean? And they're good at one sometimes, and then they relapse. And then they're good, then they relapse. Like it's just a constant cycle of trauma.
And the best way is to make that choice young, to not touch it at all, and to feel comfortable and not to give in to the pressure that's around or the expectation that because you're a black fella.
That was never a part of our culture. They flew that shit in here.
Yeah.
All the drugs and alcohol and stuff like that. The foreigners flew that shit in here and made that available for our people. But they put it on our people, and they stereotype it where that's the solve of our problems as far as in any sort of predicament, you know what I mean? Whether it be family, depression, whatever it may be. They want you. The stereotype thinks that we resort to that. We got to try and educate our people on who they are and build them from the bottom up.
I think a lot of times when they talk about us as people, they talk about us from a deficit point of view too. Is like where drinking in Australian culture might be seen as a fun, larrikin thing to do, but in Aboriginal culture, it's seen as we've got a problem and we've got an epidemic and stuff like that. But
You know how it is, bro. Every system, whether it's judicial system, moral system, social system, blackfellas are treated differently. You know what I mean? Like, I call a spade, and I'll always will. But you know what I mean? Like, it ain't equal. You know, that's why they call it. You know, whether you want to call it Uncle Sam, the system, it's white privilege. You know what I mean? And we ain't got it. You know what I mean? We just got to keep fighting as people, and you know, helping each other.
That's why I think it's important and to highlight. And I remember as that young footballer that come down here, bro, and blackfellas are put in boxes about what you can achieve and how you're going to behave and what you're going to do. And you were one of the first fellas I'd met that was different to that. You were confident. You come into the club, you stand up, you believe in getting better for yourself and that you deserve better, and you spoke up about it.
Well, bro, but I was calling out shit like
as a young kid.
Now that I look back, I'm talking. I was 20-year-old saying to Laurie Daly, because I wasn't getting the recognition I thought I deserved, saying he's running on old legs, and he's only 26. You know what I mean? Like, you don't do like, it's crazy. You know what I mean? And I'm asking for trouble. And my dad rang me that day when I was come out in the paper. He said, "Son, what are you saying? You say that?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Mate, you got to retract that statement." I said, "No, I'm not retracting it. I said, it is what it is. I mean, if you want some, let's do it. We'll see him on the field." That's my mentality. You know, I was a fighter's mentality ever since when I was playing footy, like, you know. And because you know, as a black fella, you have to pretty much literally fly to get the honours that these white fellas can get if they have a couple of good games. You know what I mean? And I was fine. So I said, "Nah, you know what? I want to talk. I'm going to talk the talk, and I'm going to walk the walk." Daly, let's go. I picked two of the best. Fiddler and Daly, the 5'8". Daly, let's go. Fiddler, white, pick him, I'll whip him. Let's go. You know what I mean? That was my mentality. And I knew it was getting to it because in the game, you know, when they kick the ball off and, you know, normally the halves stand on either side, you know, Fiddler caught the ball with the kick off and they've passed to the front row to run back. Well, he caught the ball. I was on the same side. He caught the ball, looked straight at me, come straight at me. I wasn't the biggest hitter, but I try to hit him with everything I had. All day, brother, all day. All day, brother. Come all day, mate. You know what I mean?
But your performances against them were outstanding.
Listen,
some of your best games.
Listen, to people out there, check the performances. Me versus Fittler, me versus Daly. They never beat my team. My team always beat them. St. George always beat them. And I out 90% of the time I outplayed them. The other 10% they played as good as me, but they never beat me.
Yeah, and you know, the first time I remember Chock made all this noise, and I was a young bloke at the Roosters, and we played. And I was talking to you about this last night. We went down to, and I reckon it's one of the best tries I've seen. It was down at one of the best games I've seen from a 5'8" against the Roosters, Chock.
I didn't win.
Yeah, and he ran across field and he did this dummy inside and he just sort of knew he threw the dummy and then knew the defender was coming and he just sort of squared up and looked. It was Luke Ricketts and he just boom, boom, stepped in and then someone was coming across him and boom in the palm, went straight through and then the fullback, he just left him for dust back in the day. And then the other one was when you hit the hole in that same game. I just remember watching Chock in that game and just going, man, far out, bro. He's backed it up. Like, he's just torn up the best side. Roosters were the best side. Yeah. And you had a good side, but not a great side at the Dragon. Yeah. But he did. He carried them against the best things and everyone who played with you. I remember at that time, though, like, and when you were copping a lot of it off people in the community and people in the media and stuff like that, but you would be down at Alexandria playing tennis with us boys, all us young fellas, giving us advice or just being a good fella, like checking in on us all from the country, buying us, you know, if we went for a drink, he would buy everyone drinks. Him and Wes, that's one thing him and Wes did. They looked after everyone who was in the vicinity of them back in the days. And
we try to look after all the brothers, as young fellas coming down, you know. Yeah. We know what it's like, but we're city boys, so it's sort of different. You know, coming from the country, that's even more daunting.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, like, what's going on here? That sort of thing, you know what I mean? But you're in the big smoke now, so it's different, man, for these country boys, and we try to help them as much as we could, you know. just mentally.
Yeah, well, that's how we felt when we moved down, actually, and we'd been Dragons fans our whole life. So we watched through Ricky Walford's era. Yeah. We watched through you and Macca. Yeah. So we were always Dragons fans. So we followed your whole career and we loved everything you did. And then when we moved down here, we're living in Alexandria. And the first time I ever met you in my life, we were driving down Mitchell Road and we pulled up to, I don't know who we were yarning to, but you walked over to the car and you said, "What are you doing, boys? Come down here. We're going to go and play a game of cricket down the end of Mitchell Road there, where they had the basketball courts." And he jumped in the car with us, bro. We were spinning out. I was 17, and we were spinning out like Anthony Mundine jumped in the car with us. We drove down there, and we played cricket down in the basketball courts just down the end of Mitchell Road, just up from Wes's house.
Yeah,
and that was my first time ever meeting him, and he just hung out with us, treated us like we were just one of the boys, and we'd only just moved from the country. We were scared shitless of living here in the big smoke and.
But that's what I say, like, to people, like, no matter how good or successful you are, always be you, never change. You know what I mean? Like, don't forget where you come from. Don't forget your for me, it was the fight and plight for my people, for the black fellas. Like, we know what it's like to be vilified and people thinking this, thinking that. People, we can go in your shell. I was a different beast. I was like, I'm the man, but like, put them all on my back. I want to carry us all. You know what I mean? That's my mentality. I was in footy and the boxing ring. You know what I mean? So that's why I represented so much. But I'll tell you that story again. I forgot about before when I was talking about Ricky Walford.
Tell us all Ricky Walford
96, grand final. I mean, semi-finals, and we're playing all these, making it to a good run to make the grand final. I forget what game it was. Might have been the Canberra game. I was only a young kid, 21 years old, and Abs jumps on the team bus with Ricky Walford, right? And he sits there, Ricky, and I don't know if I was on the bus or coming on the bus. I think I was coming on the bus. I was late, when superstars think they're and you come a bit late. Anyway, so we sit next to Rick Wolford. He goes, and Rick goes, "Hey, bruh, if coach asks you, you with chalk." You with chalk? If the coach asks you, you said chalk, told you come on, right? Yeah, honestly. So that's the type of sort of pull I had because he
was a veteran, Rick. Rick was a veteran.
He was a legend. He was a legend. I looked up to him. Yeah. I was one like you boys. Like I seen him come through the 80s and that. You know what I mean? Like,
and he was using your pass.
Yeah, but that's the player I've become. Yeah, early in my career. Early. I truly believed that I was ready for national honours at that age. I was. If you fellas go back, look at the '96 finals. But not just '96 finals. The whole year, I just tore it up. 20-year-old turning 21, and I just blitzed it all. So from '96, I was nationally. I should have been recognised and picked for my. If I was a Ben Aitken, if I was these fellas, a white fella, boom, straight to the top. You know what I mean? But that's the privilege they have. And it's sickening, man.
And bro, and this is the thing. You're not saying it disrespectful.
No, I'm not saying.
I'm not saying. You just knew that
Benny,
you were.
Because I saw when Benny had a few good games, he's fucking in Queensland squad. I'm thinking, what? I can't even make the New South Wales team. You know what I mean? I'm like, this is 98, like 99, whatever it was, and I'm thinking, like that. White fella plays a few good games, and they tell him to be, the best thing ever.
And it was the generation of hard done by. You look at Nathan Blacklock, outstanding. How did he not play?
And I called it out. I called it out time and time and time again. And I was one out. They used to go to other players like blackfellas, like Gordon Tallis, a good mate of mine, Ricky Walford, good brother of mine. I looked up to. They used to go to them and they used to speak against me. I say, well, yeah, they got Toms too. Fuck them too. I just used to tell the truth, bro. You know what I mean? And that's why I think people got that respect for me and that honour for me, and I appreciate that.
Well, I think you said out loud too what a lot of people felt or believed as well. Like even hearing how you talk about yourself, some of the players that we've had come on here on the podcast, when you talk about how they'd approach the knockout, even how like Dennis's approach to the knockout, he had the exact same approach to how he'd treat other people and his opposition and everything, but he just wasn't out saying it out loud. Yeah. You're out there saying it out loud and letting people know what you believe and getting in their head straight away.
But like I said from earlier, I was, as a kid, against my family, against my cousins, against my friends, when I compete, I want to be the best. But I look at him, I want to kill this fella. Trying to be
Game 5's coming.
I want to kill him, but that's the just competitive nature I had. You know what I mean? And I just brought that to the pro ranks. You know what I mean? I didn't change who I was, but people thought I was, brash or arrogant. But it's just confidence. It's supreme confidence. That's all it is.
Right. You was such a great young athlete, but you had a work ethic.
Yeah.
Like no one around at that time.
You can't get great things if you don't have that work ethic and that drive, that relentless drive that you need to be the best. You can't do it.
What were some of the things you remember doing? Do you remember getting up early in the mornings when you were a young kid?
I remember getting up early, but later on I realised like doesn't matter when you get up. It's matter as long as you do the work.
When you get up.
When you get up, you got to do the work and you have your body, because rest is a big thing for recovery as well. You understand? You know what I mean? It's more of a mental thing. Get up early and this and that. You know what I mean? But for me, it's truly work ethic, having that relentless drive and that belief, and to obtain the goal that you've set for yourself. And that's, even in like football, I was, what's the beat test and all this, I always used to kill it. Like I was a gun, you know what I mean? But I was fit. I was always up at the front of the pack in the pre-season and things like that. So it's how bad you want it. If you're willing, show me how much you're willing to work for it, and show me how bad you want it. If you're willing to work for it and you want it that bad, you'll go beyond means to make anything happen.
So you took the same attitude to the training paddock,
yes,
that you did on the field too.
You have to.
You're
Unless
there to win.
You can't achieve. I have an unprecedented career. I don't get my flowers in football. I don't get my flowers in boxing. But as far as a crossover athlete, there's no one like me. There's no. I can genuinely say, not just in Australia but around the world. I mean, you have athletes that go from gridiron to baseball, team to team, that were great. You know what I mean? Like Deion Sanders, who was that fella, Bo Jackson. They're unbelievable athletes. But to go from a team sport, rugby league, and go to one of the hardest combat sports in the world, in boxing, sweet science, and to achieve what I've achieved, winning technically 4 world titles in 3 different weight divisions, like that. It's not, it's hard to even write that up in a movie. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I just don't think I'll get the flowers I get because I know why.
Yeah.
I'm a proud Aboriginal Muslim that speaks his mind and calls it how it is, man. You know what I mean? But history will judge me one day.
Right. Yeah. Your talent, your work ethic, you must have seen that growing up for your dad. But what about the footballers? Because you talk about some of the footballers around Zetland, Redfern, at the time when you were growing up, and they had these amazing teams. Uncle Mickey and what he achieved in his life, Uncle Mickey Mundine.
Yeah.
Who were some of the footballers you looked up to as a young kid? What were your early memories of rugby league players?
I come from, I played with Zetland for about 8 years, from about under 4s to under 10s or 12s. All the my uncles were playing, Uncle Bo, Uncle Mick, Uncle Peter, mum's brother. And I was a ball boy for them. So I see them, I see them do their thing, I just wanted to be a part of it. then when I look at the NRL or ARL back then, you know, obviously the Ricky Walfords, you know, he's probably 10 years older than me or whatever, but he was a bit, but he was like a superstar. He was like Black Elvis, you know what I mean?
He still is like Black Elvis.
With dancing shoes on. So I really looked up to him, and I just wanted to make my own mark, and you know, do that. Like all the junior teams, I represented every single rep team, like from the Metropolitan to the state to the Australian schoolboys to the junior Kangaroos and all this, and you'll see this, you know, documented. But all I want to do was represent my nation nationally, be recognised nationally as a senior. So I just want to play for Australia, play maybe a year, and play a few tests, and then I was going to boxing. I was always going to boxing. But then when they did me wrong and was treat me like the way they were treating me and making me look like a fool, you know what I mean? When I'm having the best seasons out of any 5'8", you know, statistically, like I'm scoring 17, 18 tries in a year. I'm try assisting 15, 16 tries a year. Like, it doesn't happen, you know what I mean? So the only thing that I could have done that I didn't do was start flying. You know what I mean? For them to pick. I'm sure they would have picked me at some point, but it was on their time. That was the thing. And I was like, I've been ready since '96. So you're talking '96, '97, '98, '99, and early 2000. And by the 2000, I played my last 3 games. Played Newcastle. Played Mac, pumped them. Played the Raiders at SFS, Sydney Footy Stadium. Scored this mad individual try. We pumped them, beat them. Last game, we played the Roosters down in Wynn, but not the game you went to, another one. We were down by 10, and I was thinking in my head, fuck, we're down by 10, with 20 to go. And I hurt my shoulder. I had to get them off, get a needle in my shoulder. So come off, got a needle. And I looked at time, how much time. We got about 18 minutes we had left. I come back on. I set up a try, scored the winning try. We win by 2 points, right? They were picking the Anzac test the next day. So I'm thinking, and one of Daly or Fittler was out. I can't remember who, but one of them was out for injury. And a lot of the time they put Daly at 5'8" and Fittler at lock, or Fittler at 5'8", Daly at lock. You know what I mean? And one of them was out, and I thought, 100%, my chance, my time. So I went in the. You know, they read the team on the radio. I was sitting in the car by myself, bro. I was thinking, oh man, I can't. I thought. So they read the team. Then come to 5'8", I didn't get picked. I said, "What I'll do? They're gonna put me on the bench again, like they did in the Origin series, right?" I said, "If I bench, that's all right, I suppose." You know, I made it. And then read the bench. I'm not in. I think, fuck. I said, "Bruh, I'm done with this shit. I'm over this shit." It really scarred me that much that my love for the game was no more. You know what I mean? It's like being with a girl you love, you know, love of your life, right? And she keeps doing you wrong. And then there comes a point where you just got to say enough's enough. And then I need to go. So I rung Cody Nassau, who was managing him at the time. I said, "Bruh, book me a flight overseas. I want to go to America." He goes, "What? You playing next week? What do you mean?" He goes, "No, I want to go to America. I'm going to go now. I don't care about playing." So he booked me a flight because when I was 15 years old, you know, with the basketball, I was a gun. I made this New South Wales team. They toured the West Coast. I was 15, and we toured the West Coast. So I had a couple of offers to stay in America to play.
Yeah.
High school basketball, whatever. And then we got billeted out to families, and this Filipino family billeted me out. They had 3 boys, Omar, Ronnie, and Bruce. And got along mad. And anyway, and when I come back home, I stayed in touch with them over the years. And then I said I'd come back over, and I didn't know when. And then I said, I'm not going. I just need to get away. So I went over to see them, and I didn't tell everyone. I didn't even tell Mum I was going. I told no one. I landed there, and I rang Mum and that. I said, "Mum, I'm in America." You know what I mean? They thought, and then the
They
media.
did think it was a Dubai that hurt you, right?
The media was making out but that was the time of Osama bin Laden. They put me in signs like I'm with Osama bin Laden while my mates are training in the rain and weather, like just trying to make a gig of me. You know what I mean? But I really need to get away and for my mental health, in what I was gonna do. You know,
It was a big decision.
Big decision. Yeah.
Lost a lot of faith by the sounds of it.
Yeah, a lot of faith in the system, and I was like, nah, that's it. I'm gonna be my own boss when I come back. I'm announce my retirement, and I'm going to do boxing. I'm going to be world champ.
But that's crazy that you got that talent that you can make that decision too, because a lot of people in that same position,
Wouldn't do it.
they just sit there broken and
Yeah,
have
Try
to
and carry on.
keep trying to carry on. But you had the world at your feet that you could make the choice of what other sport you wanted to chase.
yeah, man. I was lucky. I mean, but a lot of black fellas, they are multi sports champions.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they can do a lot of things. Like Lindsay Munro, gun basketball player, was a gun football player. They had talent. Day Ray Boy, we all had talent. Like you know what I mean? But we were talking about this earlier with Tranny Boy. Like sometimes, life gives you stuff where it's hard to overcome. Like you could be the maddest player. It's just about opportunities.
Yeah,
About getting that opportunity, getting that coach to believe in you.
Yeah.
Little things like that. You know what I mean? And like Bo Boy, even Tranny Boy himself, like they were that close to getting an opportunity, but then the injuries come in, so setbacks come in. You know what I mean? And
Or being at the right club at the right time.
There's been so many black fellas in that predicament. You know what I mean? There's so much more stars, and I truly think I'm gonna say this on the record that for black fellas in the NRL today, there's no pathways. There's no real pathways to bring brothers through. You know what I mean? In every club should take a good look at themselves. You know, having a pathway for Indigenous players, because at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, no matter how you slice it and dice it, our people are the most talented ex-players that you can ever get. I mean, they have pathway for the Pacific Islander boys. You know what I mean? In every club. You know what I mean? They have houses for them to stay at. No, they don't do that with the black fellas. Why not? That's the question that needs to be asked.
100%, yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's a different set of circumstances and challenges our people face, and I believe the pathways aren't created to help support our players through those different circumstances and challenges. They fit into this model, but unfortunately our boys and girls don't fit into that model. We've got to come up with alternate pathways.
That's something that I don't know. We can talk to Dave about, or
It's something because we all know that we could have 5 Latrell Mitchells in this game.
That's what I'm saying.
You see
There's so many out there.
How much Latrell attracts as far as publicity of the game, following, and the way he has a impact. We could have 5 of them. Imagine getting 5 times impact.
That's
Thurston.
what I'm saying, bro.
There's 5 Thurstons out there that could have made
Well,
it.
even with all the adversity that people face to get there, through every era, we've had players in the absolute top echelon of the game. Like right now, Latrell's in that absolute top where on any day he's the best player in the game.
Yeah, 100%.
Greg Inglis, Jonathan Thurston, you keep going back. Chock, you keep going back through the years. There's always been someone that was at that absolute top level.
episodes, yeah.
And it's the top. It's not even like in the right at the top. So that's saying
what
something.
I'm saying is that they need to create a pathways, each club for Aboriginal players. You know, whether it's mentoring them and developing them, just getting them through and supporting them to be what they can be. You know what I mean? And they got it for the Pacific Islander boys, which is great. Like I mean, there's probably a lot more of them than us, but the ones that we do got and the talent we do got is very special.
Tell us a little bit about the Dragons, because a lot of younger people wouldn't realise that the Dragons was the black club for a very long time. Like what South is now, what people see of South now, that was the Dragons.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't know. Like there was so many black fellas playing there. What was the most you had at one time?
Maybe 8, 7, 8.
Yeah. Oh, it was up. And for the clubs at that era.
And Reggie's in the reserve grade too, like Cecil Heron.
Yeah.
Uncle Walker, Andrew Walker, myself.
Jeff Hardy,
Mark Bell.
A lot of leaders.
There's a few of us there.
Ricky
Williams,
Walford.
Rick Walford.
Ricky was
Keed.
Then years later, you had Mossy come through, Blacklock and Wes and Robbie John and all
Wes
that
and Robbie
crew
John,
down there.
Yeah.
Justin Smith was down there as well.
What was it like during that era?
What happened with Robbie John? I went to Brisbane, right? I saw him in Brisbane. And you know, black fellas, bro, you're lonely up there. And mum would come up, but she'd go back to Sydney. So I'm there by myself in this 4-bedroom mansion with a tennis court, pool, everything. I'm thinking, fuck, I'm scared here by myself. You know what I mean? So I think, fuck, I need someone to come up here and stay with me. You know what I mean? And so my uncle would come up every now and then, Uncle Peter. But then I knew Robbie had talent. You know, I mean, this is what I mean by we could have so many. It's about opportunity. So I knew Robbie John had talent. He's a big hitter. He's an enforcer, and he could play. You know what I mean? So I spoke to Wayne Bennett about him. I said, Wayne, I got this brother. He's from Griffith. Trust me, he's a gun. And Wayne took my word for it. He said, yeah, we'll get him up here. We'll get him a trial with the Reggies and see how he goes. So he came to Brisbane, and I got him a contract with the Broncos, right? So he played with the rest of the year with the reserve grade, and I played with reserve. But obviously, after that year, I went back to St. George. But this is a pulling power that I had. See, it'll be like a Latrell today, I suppose. So I said, when I come back, I said, Wadey, I want to bring my brother here, Robbie John. I told him about him. He played reserve grade with the Broncos. He's a good player. He goes, yeah, no problem. So got him a contract with the Dragons. Got him at the Dragons, and then obviously his talent and his work ethic, training wise, you know. And then I'm sitting in the, you know, when they do video or whatever with the meeting room with with all the first graders, and then Robert John comes in. What's going on here? And then Dave Waite, who was the coach at the time, said, just told the boys that Robbie's playing this week and congratulations, and we all congratulated. I said, man, my bro, appreciate it. Appreciate you playing, putting in the work. And, he forged he played probably 15 games, had a good season that year. I left, and then he got a contract overseas. We paid some good money, so lives out his little dream too. But that's something that, that we need to help each other.
100%.
Well, what about knockout football? What do you think when you love? What do you love about knockout football?
Knockout, bruh. I swear to God, this is true God. Knockout footy is harder than the NRL.
Yeah.
I swear to God, bruh. Like, I've never played harder footy. You know what I mean? Like, it's like every run, every tackle is just explosive, and they're calling you out like like they want to kill you. You know what I mean? Even if I wanted to come play back this year, right, and I'll turn 50 tomorrow, right? I'm 5'8" tomorrow. They'll be saying, get this gun, this old gun. Hey, like if he's mad,
he's mad.
That's how it is, but that's how it is, you know what I mean? And that's competitive spirit. But our people, we love that. We love rugby league. We love that this game. You know what I mean?
Who was the early players that you can remember, that knockout players that you loved watching or you played against and you thought, Jesus?
I played with. I thought Shane Phillips was a legend knockout player.
Yeah.
I thought he was one of the ones I liked to watch play. The Lions boys,
Lapa boys.
Lapa boys.
Woodgie Lions.
Woodgie Lions, all the boys that I used to freak out on them when I was a young fella. I thought they were guns, you know.
And they had a rivalry, didn't they? Redfern and Lapa.
Redfern and Lapa, yeah, they had a big rivalry.
One would win 1 year, and then a couple of years the other one would win. It's always going up here. How'd you get Gordon Tallis to play knockout?
I said, bro, because his father's blackfella.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I knew he was obviously eligible to play, and he was. But he didn't grow up around the blackfellas, you know what I mean? But he, you know, Wally Tallis, he's a big black man, bro.
Yeah, he's a big man.
And he played in the Australian Aboriginal side back in the day, Wally. And I said, bro, there's knockouts coming up. He knew about it. And he said, come play with us. And he was humming and ahhing. I just convinced him, bro, it's one game, man, play together. And then he said, yeah, all right then.
What was he like, Gordy, playing knockout? I remember watching him, and everyone knew him as a super sub back then.
Yeah,
he was a super
He
sub.
just come on with the Dragons and just tear up shit for 10, 15 minutes and go off and then come back on again. He was a super sub. He was a dead set animal. Like Gordy in his peak, far out, bro.
Yeah.
I feel sorry for him.
So who handled him at the knockout? How would they handle him? Because I remember he made a lot of breaks. And
very hard to handle. Easy. It was a contributing factor while we won it. You know what I mean? Big contributing factor. But the main fella that I think that doesn't get the recognition he should deserve to get, and that's Wes Patten, man. Like, no one's got a knockout record like that fella. He's won more knockouts than coaching and playing than anyone, man. I reckon. Like, he's got to be up there.
Yeah,
with the greats of the knockouts.
100%.
Tell us about your relationship with him, bro, because I know you're not like brothers.
Yeah, we're brothers, man. We grew up together. He's 1 year older than me. We always competing against each other. This is what I mean by the competitiveness. You know what I mean? And we talk shit to each other. Me and him used to talk shit to each other all the time. We used to play when we both made our first grade. If I'm playing daily that week, or he's playing, say, Alfie Langer. You know what I mean? We ring each other and you just start talking shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what you gonna do? Laurie, you don't pump me this weekend. Like, you know what I mean? Try to put you down. I said, we'll see, right? So that's the thing. That's the sort of banter we had. But he's got a good heart, my brother. Like, Wesy, obviously he dealt with a few issues over the years, but I'm always there for him. He knows I'm one of his soldiers when he needs me, and yeah, I love my little cuz.
But the game, Waterloo Storm versus the Redfern Memorial team, what was that like going in that game? Because that was one of the most anticipated games that had ever been at the knockout. You tell us about your build-up.
That was at Enter Hope. I didn't even know I was going to play. I didn't even know I was going to play. But you know when you get itchy your feet? Yeah. This is like 205, 205. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, you was boxing by then.
Boxing. And when I never done sprint training. I never done sprints. So obviously I lost my speed. You know what I mean? And you need to keep up.
And you're about 20 kilos lighter too.
Yeah. But you need to keep up your plyometrics.
You had a boxer's training.
I never sprinted.
Yeah.
But I said, because all the Mundine boys played, like Bark, Bo.
You had a great team, didn't you, as Waterloo Storm? Lee Hookie.
Leon.
I think Robbie John was in that team.
Matty
Mundine was in there.
So we had a mad team. And the remember your cousins? I said, with your mob, sonny. I said, oh, fuck. All right, then. So I put it on. And then I'm hearing the boys are warming up. The Redfern boys are warming up. Right? And I hear Wesley say, listen, you guys. If Choc comes on, smash that gun. You better smash that gun. I don't want him getting up. You know what I mean? Like, talking shit.
He had him fired up.
Yeah.
Now, remember this. There was that much talk in that lead up to that game. It was going to be explosive. But then you got the ball and you got in the clear. What happened?
What happened? Lee Hookie made a little break on the edge. And I scored a lot of my tries backing up, like being in the right place at the right time. Yeah. So I was in the right place at the right time. Got the ball, boom. I'm off. I'm about 70 away because it's about 60, 70 metres to the try line. And I'm trying to run as fast as I can. I'm like on a treadmill, right? Just trying to run as fast as I can, right?
This used to be easier. You used to be able to fly the line.
That's what I mean. And I'm thinking, and then I look I turn my back. I look who's going. Where's the police coming? Faster. And then I turned around. I went to palm him, and his head jumped into me, and like got me enough to
Put
me on the ground. But he didn't tackle me. He sort of jumped past, like bumped me, and then I got up, and then an alley boy come over and lifted me.
I remember
Did Wes say anything after he hit you? After he got you?
I think we lost the ball or something happened, and he's like, but he goes on.
I haven't seen Wes. Like, I have to say, he was the most determined look on his face. He was not going to let you score. He was chasing that hard. And
I just wish I was trained up for it. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, you can't. Do you fellas out there want to play knockout? You cannot play without being active during the year and having a training schedule for the knockout. If you go there, try and just rock up and play, you may as well forget about it.
100%.
Did he carry on after the game with you?
Yeah,
after
he talked mad shit.
That was the one thing. Because is that your last ever knockout game, wasn't it? You didn't play again after that, eh?
Yeah.
Right into the box, and the boxing took you away.
Boxed me away. But he talked shit after. He still talks shit today about it.
Well, he's got it for life now, doesn't he? He finished on the win.
It's finished on the win, the lad. So
right. Do you know many of the teams that you faced in the knockout that you looked up to and went, geez, they had some top sides?
Mate, I remember when I was 13, 14, maybe probably younger, 12, 13. I remember Wilfred Williams, the Walgett team, when they went out, they took out Walgett. Well, I went out there when I was a kid, and just the size of Wilfred's legs and arms, lovely, yeah. Looks scary.
He's a tough footballer, Wilfred, wasn't he?
Tough as man.
And that was a great side, that Walgett side.
That
Is that one of your earliest memories?
That was my earliest memories, man, for sure. Going out there and seeing how intimidating they were, and Ricky Walford were playing with them too at the time, and that's when I started following. I was playing first grade too, so I started following Rick and his journey.
What about you watched lately at some of the current teams or teams that sort of taken your eye, players that you looked at and go, some of your favourites to watch?
At the knockout?
Yeah.
Yeah, just there's talent all across the board. You know what I mean? Like, that's the best footy you'll ever watch. Like, entertaining footy, off the cuff footy. You can't. That's the football you can't teach. That's what I say, that we need to get these pathways. Talk to these clubs to get these pathways right, because there's no talent like Buffalo talent. You know what I mean? Especially in footy.
Who's your team that you follow though? Because you got Redfern, you got Waterloo, Boyeagle Descendants.
Yeah.
There's a lot of. Wellow's back.
Obviously, it's where you're from. You know what I mean? I grew up, at Canterbury, but I was always, Redfern, that's my community, and I was obviously Redfern, Wellow Cowboys, that my sort of two, and now Boyeagle Descendants. That's my people, my tribe, that's where I'm from. So I definitely, look out for them and want them to do deadly.
Your boys are playing too, eh?
Yeah, CJ played. He played for Boyeagle Descendants last year, the casino knockout. But no, he was to try to put his hand up with the boxing. But I said, son, you can't do it, mate, if you don't have the hunger and drive. You know what I mean? And Danny Green keeps ringing me or texting me saying him and Archie can get it on in 5 years' time. I said, yeah, that's no problem. We can get it on. But CJ, bro, you got to be ready. You can't be messing about.
No, you got to win, eh? You got to get in and win.
That's a legacy there. That's a Mundine legacy.
I mean,
you got to carry.
We can't.
Actually, it was just the anniversary of the fight the other day.
Yeah, 19 years.
Biggest fight in Australian history.
Yeah, biggest fight in Australian history, man.
And you won.
And I won. Yeah.
Unbelievable. But and Remus is your nephew.
That's Kelly's. That's my sister's boy. Remus. Yeah. He's over in what's that French team?
Yeah,
Catalans.
He's playing over there in the Super League.
And there's a lot of talented other nephews and that coming through. And so the Mundine legacy still goes on in sport.
It'll be moving on. Yeah, it'll be moving on, bro, for sure.
How do you look at the next phase, bro, of being a bit of a mentor to your sons, your nephews, other young fellas who look after you, coaching. Is that something that you do?
When I
boxing or rugby league.
Coaching, there's a lot of time and dedication. You know what I mean? So you got to be really committed to it. You know what I mean? Well, I've done what I want to do in my career, so I just want to live my life.
Yeah.
I want to come and go as I please and do what I want. You know what I mean?
You've been devoted to sports for a long time.
Yeah.
You've given up a lot of time for sports.
So I will help out. I would love to help out here and there, and I think I can be a successful coach if I put my head to it.
Yeah, but it is a big commitment.
It's a big commitment, bro.
I remember you helped.
It takes over your life.
Yeah,
and I don't want that. You know what I mean?
You helped coach when my son was playing at Redfern. You and Wes, and what did you used to say to the boys there? Like they had two legends that you and Wes sort of coaching. You won the grand final.
Yeah, the boys done it up well.
How'd you enjoy that experience?
Nah, it was deadly, bro. Like I just tell the boys, you know what I mean? Like it's about commitment. Just give them little tips about, pushing up on the advantage line, support, especially the supporting the halves and the fullback, like being in the right place at the right time. So that's why Tinga myself. That's how I scored a lot of tries from, reading the play and not being in the right place at the right time. You know what I mean?
That style of football's gone, eh? The instinctive play that they used, like you're saying, being on your toes, support play, reading the play, what's going to happen, Ed, and Blacklocking yourself are two of the best of it. And that's something that our young fellas probably need to get back, that instinctive
I think
style.
a lot of it gets coached out of them too, which makes it hard. Whose decision or idea was it originally with the post-try celebrations? Because I reckon that's one of the best eras in football, the backflips from it.
Wes reckons that you stole the somersaults off him.
Wes reckons everyone steals everything.
George stole his warm-up or Matt stole his warm-up.
I'm not guilty.
His visions, we call him visions. I named him Visions. And then he created a company called Visions. I said, that's mine. I told you that. But anyway, what are we talking about?
No, just the post-try celebration.
Who kicked it off?
Well, me, because I took the intercept against Canberra at Kogra, ran 80 metres to school, scored it, and I don't know, it just happened naturally. And just put it down. So, let me just give you something to the fans. Boom, down in front of you. You know what I mean?
Mad.
Landing a point like that.
Yeah.
And,
now, Wes is going to counteract and reckons that he did it at the Sevens 12 months before that. So I was doing it at the Sevens. I did a flip at the Sevens.
Everyone does shit at the Sevens, but it's not in season.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like in season, you're being more, I don't know, it's not as, you're supposed to be a lot more serious.
The Sevens is carnival atmosphere.
Carnival atmosphere.
Yeah.
That's not in
NRL.
Nah.
But then listen to this, right? This is where our black fellas get treated. So I do that, right? Then Naif, couple tries later, he scores and he does a round off backing, right? So he does that. Then they write it up about the paper, but then they're saying we're a circus act. They're putting us down pretty much. You know what I mean?
It's true.
And this and that, and I'm like, this our. If that white fella's doing that, I mean, but just treated differently. You know what I mean, there's two different realms, and that's why it just drove me to fucking entertain more and do more. So I done it in the major semi against Cronulla when I scored them 3 tries. Boom, 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 scored 3 tries, and then the last try I went bang, found behind him, done a shaky leg. I mean,
It's funny because I feel like a lot of the stuff that you did get. Hunted for it. Ridiculed for it. But now it's the norm.
But listen, after that, they ridiculed us for it, for doing this post-ultra racing as far as we're, overconfident or, whatever they wanted to write about us, negative. And then 3 months later, they're having post-try celebrations.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we were the pioneers of that. I was the pioneer of that shit.
But it was one of the most entertaining eras of rugby league. Like if you talk to anyone who was around during that time, whether you went for Dragons or not, you knew that was happening. Like you remember the Mundine and Blacklock front flips, backflips, fucking.
It was exciting.
It was the
time.
best. It was cool.
But George, is what I was saying. Like he set foundations for things to come after.
Yeah.
Before you Chock, no Aboriginal sportsmen really talked up a lot.
Nah.
They didn't talk about our issues. They just played, kept quiet, and just did their job and got on with it because they were going to cop it. Where Chock talks about it, which means now that our boys get to talk about issues and get to raise things without copping the hammer, because you went there to be the first one. Same with this try celebrations now. Everyone's applauded for that now. It's character in the game. Yeah. It's exciting. It's what the fans want. But you're ridiculed for it. It's sometimes you had to be that sort of person to break through.
Break that mould.
Yeah, and you had to cop a lot for it, but you did give access to a lot of people to come in behind you, bro. And I know me and George were part of that crew that came after you, and a lot of other boys, and that's why everyone always looked up to you and sort of respected you, because you were the one who gave us the opportunities, Yeah,
I just knew what it was, from the get-go. And to be honest, they tried to break me back. I did not give a, you know what I mean? And it was like water off a duck's back. It just gave me more fuel, gave me more reason to be successful and be the best. Like, that was it.
Now, this year's knockout, who's your tip to win the knockout this year?
Oh, the Jingaros. The whack. What's going on with whack? Whack. They want to. They're probably the favourites of the competition. But there'll be good. There'll be some good teams. There'll be definitely. They'll be competing. I reckon.
Anything from Wellington, bro? What are they saying out there?
Yeah, will I go good? I'm sure. What's his name? Ben.
Oh, Benny Gunn at War.
Benny Gunn.
War's got to be coming for you, surely. Surely they're coming.
Oh, they're coming, boys. So
can we make him nervous, bro, before he starts?
I don't get nervous. My tip is the Boomerangs. I think the Boomerangs are going to be tough to beat.
They're going to be tough too.
I know Munz is confident. Munz has got a spring in his step already. We're 5 months out. Mundara, he's got a spring in his step already.
Mund player.
Yeah, so
I'm hearing big things. War. I'm hearing that they're going big. War.
How much bigger can they go?
Yeah, well, it's showing that. Well, they got to win, right? They got to go bigger than second round. What they did last year, and so obviously they want to try and avoid Walgett, but they got to try and find something to beat us, George. They haven't been able to beat us.
If you're not on game in the first the preliminary rounds, you can be knocked out.
It's not enough time, mate.
Not enough time.
Yeah.
Not enough time. What? 20 minutes of quarter? I'm a half. Yeah. Mate, that goes quick. You know what I mean? And if you ain't on your P's and Q's, man, you might be ta-ta.
Laparu's another one.
Lapa's always strong.
They're building now.
Lapa's always strong. If Blacks put a team in, that'll be strong. It'll be interesting. But at the end of the day, everyone's gunning for whack, man. They're coming to get you, boys.
Right, what would you do if you were playing for Waterloo, Redfern, whoever it is, and you're coming up against whack?
What would I do?
Yeah, what would you do? What would you be driving?
I just fire the boys up and say, listen. These brothers, they've won it the last 3-4 years. This is our opportunity to knock them off the pedestal and build a new dynasty with our team.
That's time.
It's time.
It's time for a change.
Time for a change.
That's it, bro. All the brothers out there.
Change gonna come. I play the song by Sam Cooke in the dressing room. You know what I mean? Change gonna come.
It's time for these boys to knock whack off the pedestal, eh?
That's it, baby.
They might need the man Mundine or
mate.
Nanama Common Connection or War or one of those teams.
We'll get the win earlier on the table tennis table anyway. Trenny's already.
Trenny's over there warming up.
Yeah, I'm mudded now. Intermission for a few days.
No, but we look forward to seeing you at the knockout again this year.
For sure.
I know you're always there, always amongst, always supporting the community, and you've been a leader and a groundbreaking leader, really for us and our people and our people as sportsmen too. Like it's been an honour to see what you've done in your career, and you got nothing but respect from all of us for what you did in your career, not only on the field but standing up for us all off the field. So we appreciate that always, and appreciate hearing your yarn, and we got more yarns to get at you still too over the next few years. So we'll make sure we get a few more of them out. But thanks for joining us on the podcast.
Pleasure, my brother. Pleasure. Thanks. Just want to say you're doing great stuff. You know, it's good. Like a lot of our people see success and they bag for certain ways. I've was built up by my own mob a lot of the time, and envied by my own mob body a lot of the time. But I could truly say, like you, Matty, and Franny Boy, really gives me pleasure, and it's an honour to see my brothers doing what they're doing and handling business. And I wish you all nothing but the success, brother, and hopefully just keep building this empire and giving opportunities to the next generations.
I appreciate that. It means a lot, and thank you again for joining us on the podcast. And look forward to hearing from you all. Tuning in next week. Cheers.